Fable City Radio's 1-Minute Fairy Tales, Hansel and Gretel. Once upon a time, there was a poor couple with 2 kids named Hansel and Gretel. They were so poor that one day the mom said to the dad, "Get rid of these kids or we're all gonna starve to death." The dad said no way, but the wife wouldn't shut up, so he agreed to dump the kids in the forest and leave them to die. The kids overheard the plan to dump them and they got real scared, so Hans put a bunch of little rocks in his pocket, and when they walked into the forest, he left a trail so they could find their way back home. The dad was glad to see him, but the mom was pissed and told the dad to get rid of them the next day. So back to the forest they went. This time Hans didn't have any rocks, so he left breadcrumbs, but a bunch of birds ate the crumbs, so the kids were lost. All of a sudden, they found a witch's house made out of gingerbread and candy, and they started munching on it because they were starving. The witch came out acting real nice and invited them in for a big dinner and warm beds to sleep in, but after they ate, she went full-on evil witch. She locked Hans up in a cage in her barn, and she tied up Gretel and made her a slave and told her she was going to fatten up her brother and eat him. She gave Hans a fat roasted chicken, and he used a chicken bone to convince the almost blind witch that he was still skinny by poking it through the bars of the cage whenever she tried to check on his weight. Finally, the old bat got tired of waiting. She told Gretel that she decided to cook and eat Hans right away. Gretel cried, "Help us!" but there was no one to help her, so she had to help herself. When the witch told Gretel to light a big fire in the stove, Gretel played dumb and said, "I can't get it hot enough." The witch said, "You are dumb, let me look." When the witch crawled up on the oven door, Gretel shoved her in, slammed the door, and locked it shut. Then she let Hans out of the barn, and they both enjoyed listening to the witch scream for mercy and die a painful death. They stole all the witch's treasures and followed a big white magical bird back to their house, where their dad was happy to see them and the loot, and their mean mom was thankfully dead. And they all lived happily ever after. The end. Go to FableCityRadio.com for the real stories with music, sound effects, fairy tale trivia, and more. Also available on Apple Podcasts and Spotify.